This just in today, Lamar Jackson has been offered more money than Kyler Murray per Jay Glazer, but that doesn't mean a contract extension has gotten done. Lamar Jackson and the Ravens still haven't agreed to a contract, as Lamar is seeking to only be the third player in NFL history to receive a fully guaranteed contract. Understandable, both sides, why both sides would want a fully guaranteed contract or a non-fully guaranteed contract. There isn't a ton of precedent for it in the league. It's still an anomaly that the two examples that we have are, of course, a very unique situation with Deshaun Watson and Kirk Cousins, who is one of the biggest anomalies in the league just by his pure existence. Darion, when you hear that the Ravens and Lamar haven't come to terms on an agreement, do you think the Ravens should bend to his whims in terms of it's fully guaranteed, or do you think that they have reason to be hesitant to offer it?
I think Lamar Jackson should not play this season until he gets his contract. And I'm gonna be completely honest, because you gotta secure your future, especially the way he plays. You know, he used a lot of his legs, and he does take hits when he's using his legs. So you gotta secure the bag when it comes to Lamar Jackson. But this is the problem with the Ravens at the quarterback position. The highest I ever seen the Ravens pay for a quarterback was Joe Flacco after the Super Bowl. If you look at all the quarterbacks that came through the Baltimore Ravens were on cheap contracts. You never seen a fully guaranteed quarterback get signed by the Baltimore Ravens. They'll go everywhere else on their positions, cornerback, not even wide receiver, running backs, offensive line. But they never did a real full guaranteed contract for a Baltimore Ravens quarterback. And this is why Lamar Jackson is probably going to hold out. The guy's a former MVP. He threw 39 interceptions. I think it was 39 touchdowns. I'm sorry, touchdowns, not interceptions. He threw 39 touchdowns. He didn't even have a double-digit interception that year. Understanding that the last couple of years he was hurt. I understand that, but he's still a dynamic player. And you don't want to risk that going off of a rookie contract that, Kyler Murray is not even better than Lamar Jackson, in my opinion. So if you want to pay the bag to somebody, it got to be Lamar Jackson. And I think he deserves it. It's just the Ravens are being cheap as an organization, and they don't want to pay their star.
Yeah, but on one hand, they're offering him the second highest paid contract in the NFL. So they are, in theory, paying him. Now, the question is over this term guaranteed. Technically, it could all be guaranteed if he plays up to his ability. He's the superstar we expect him to be, remains healthy, short of a catastrophic injury, which honestly, in terms of, here's my thing. How many devastating injuries do we see in the NFL on a yearly basis at the quarterback position anymore? Yes, we had Alex Smith a couple of years ago, but isn't that more of a rarity? I mean, even guys who tear their ACL come back the next year. Guys who tear their Achilles come back the next year. Dak, obviously got his contract after his injury. So
right.
I don't think that even if Lamar, let's say this, he goes out there week 1 this year, tears his ACL, I don't think teams aren't going to be willing to pay him next year, or he's going to be at risk of not playing out the rest of his contract. Now, comes into that territory too with obviously Lamar. One of his biggest strengths is his athleticism. And if he does suffer injury, will that go away? Will that fade? Well, that's where I'm hoping too, Lamar. And I think at one point he'll realize this too. He needs to develop a second gear as a quarterback, because no matter how athletic you are, that's fades. No matter who you are, like once you hit that 30-year-old mark, that it's tough to be like an athletic quarterback and continue to age well at the position. Even I'm sure Josh Allen at one point too, another similar quarterback, is going to have to realize that and kind of start changing his philosophy, not take as many hits to his body. Look at Ben Roethlisberger back in the day. Big Ben took hit after hit after hit. He just aged like milk. Cam Newton. Hey, Cam Newton. See, I think that Lamar, if he does sign this contract, even without the fully guaranteed, I still think he'll make most of, if not all of the money from the contract. So I don't really have a fear of that. So maybe that's why I'm pretty neutral on the term of guaranteed. But I do think that it behooves the NFL to not have guaranteed contracts just getting handed out like candy, because it's a tough sport and things happen. Yeah. And when it comes to baseball, I hate that they had fully guaranteed contracts, mostly because it means the players who shouldn't be in the league kind of hang around the league for years, or hang around on rosters for years. And maybe not just specifically for like Lamar Jackson, but I just think in general, it's a bad business for the NFL to hand out fully guaranteed contracts.
Yeah, I understand the point there. And the NFL doesn't hand out guaranteed contracts because they can. It's just kind of how they've been negotiating for years. And only in the cases of Kirk Cousins being able to withstand the franchise tag and hitting free agency, or the sexual predator getting traded to the Browns, has there been a case where circumstances were just right. Now, usually the guarantees are around like 75 to 80% now. So what we're talking about is, again, a few tens of millions of dollars, and that being guaranteed versus him having to make a roster in order to guarantee those, which I assume for the next 7 years, Lamar Jackson isn't in jeopardy of not making a roster. What's difficult about the situation is, like you said, last year, I would argue that Lamar Jackson could blow out his knee and would still, teams would line up for a fully guaranteed contract. I feel less confident than I did last year, and yet still feel the case that Lamar Jackson will still get a gigantic contract larger than Kyler Murray, even if he gets hurt. The difference there is, one, Lamar Jackson is going to, I know the whole thing about Lamar taking hits because he runs is a big deal, but Lamar doesn't really ever take hits, and the quarterback position is super protected. He got hurt at the end of last year, and so did Patrick Mahomes in a regular season game against the Broncos, and he missed about the same amount of time. The whole thing about Lamar taking too many hits is a little overblown in my opinion. So I think that he'll play out whatever the contract is. He'll get another big one. Obviously, he's representing himself, which is a big part of shooting for the guaranteed contract. I think if an agent were advising him and he's going to get $235 million, regardless of the guarantees, I think an agent might advise him to sign it, just because other quarterbacks who also have agents have signed those deals. I don't know if that's like a causation correlation thing. I just am interested by the fact that what exactly was the holdup in the contract. We know exactly what type of contract he's going to get. We know what the language is going to be in the deal. It's going to be $3 million more than Kyler Murray, which was $100,000 more than Deshaun Watson, which was $2 million more than Josh Allen. It's a very strategic pattern of contracts. It's why I was surprised that they hadn't signed the deal yet. And now I guess we kind of know the reason why.
Kyle, have you heard any reporting on how many years would be on this proposed contract?
I don't have the exclusive report like I had with Kyler Murray. No, I had the Kyler Murray news 2 weeks beforehand, just because I do a Cardinals podcast and stuff. But
I guess why I asked is just because I'm curious if it was a shorter contract, then I think might be okay to sign that fully guaranteed contract for the Ravens. If you told me it was because go back to Kirk Cousins when he signed his fully guaranteed contract, I believe it was a 3-year deal.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, it was a 3-year deal. Yeah.
A 3-year deal, fully guaranteed. I might be more comfortable doing that, but I don't want to fully guarantee a 5-year, a 6-year, a 10-year deal. That's when I think that the Ravens will have lost their mind in terms of handing out this contract. If
you want to keep it in the middle, I say just give him 4 years.
4 years, fully guaranteed. Let's see. So the baseline's what, 40 million?
Per year, Kyler Murray's getting 46. So probably about 47 to 50. Probably if it's a 4-year contract, think like the Aaron Rodgers deal, which was 4 years, 200 million.
Okay. So yeah, we're talking 4 years, 200 million, fully guaranteed for Lamar Jackson. I'm thinking about the Ravens team construct. They've built a nice team around Lamar and what he does well. When you think about the offensive line, how it's built, them drafting a center this year, strong running game with J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. They can make it work on a short-term basis, and I think that might be a compromise that if I'm Lamar, I'm negotiating this, I might seek. Hey, I want to, if that's really the important thing to me, having that fully guaranteed contract, then maybe I could seek it on a short-term basis. And hey, in 3 years, 4 years, maybe we can reevaluate and I could become the highest paid quarterback once again if I play up to my abilities.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we know from Jay Glazer that he's gotten offered more money than Kyler Murray, which makes me think that it's a 5-year contract, just like Kyler's, probably $6 to $10 million total more. So $2 million more than that. Because again, Kyler's was $2 million more than Deshaun, which was $2 million more than Josh Allen, which was $2 million more than Patrick Mahomes. And that's kind of the layering of those 5-year contracts. So I'm guessing it's a 5-year, $240 million fully guaranteed contract, which might be part of the hang up for why he hasn't signed the deal yet.
Right.
I think it's kind of like what Darion was saying too. The Ravens, how they tend to operate. They didn't hand Flacco his contract until after he won the Super Bowl.
Right.
They're a very results oriented team, and they're a well-run team for what it's worth. I mean, for the last entirety of my life, the Ravens have been a relevant franchise. So
Yeah,
I'll give it to them. They make shrewd business moves, and this is where it kind of gets tough when a shrewd organization comes against a superstar player who's seeking something that is a rarity in the sport. So I don't know who's going to win out exactly. I think Lamar at the end of the day is still going to become a very rich man here shortly. It's just a matter of, is he going to, again, staple himself in NFL history as only the third guaranteed contract? Let's throw this before we close it out here. What are the odds he gets this thing fully guaranteed?
I think they're going to try to do it before week 1, but I don't see it happening.
Yeah.
I think he's going to sit out. I think he's going to sit out to like week 3 or 4.
I don't think he's going to sit out. I think the thing about Lamar, for me personally, I just think he has such a high football character, for whatever that's worth, that I don't see him as a sit out type player.
I don't know. I think he wants to protect his future. He don't want to get hurt.
Yeah, but that could create some bad blood with some guys. I mean, look at even like Le'Veon Bell. Like, that created the whole thing. Oh, you should be worrying about other people's money, but players on his own team started resenting him after that.
Well, Le'Veon Bell never stepped back into that locker room after it all happened, because remember, he sat out
Yeah,
the whole
I
think it's
season.
different.
That may have been a big part of it too.
Yeah.
Hey, if Lamar hits the open market, like if his contract expires, obviously he'd be wanted by pretty much
All
25,
NFL
20,
teams.
I would say quite 32. There's
all but four teams.
All but 4 teams, maybe 5 or 6, depending on.
I know my
what we're
team's
talking
going to be
about.
involved, because no matter what person get released, no matter what quarterback get released, the Raiders got some ties to it some way, somehow.
Can we get Dana White to give Lamar a call? Can we make that happen? All right, guys. Well, anyway, let us know, what do you think is going to happen with this Lamar situation? Do you think he does get the third fully guaranteed contract in NFL history? Drop below in the comments. Leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel. We're joined today by Darion Hopkins. We got all his information in the bio of this video. Go ahead and check that out. From Juju Talk Sports, gotta let better, stay safe, happy, and healthy. We will see you next time.